Hello there, welcome to Granada Reports. We're live with the latest across the northwest.
Hello, thanks for joining us on the programme this evening.
As police announce a fourth arrest over the murder of Olivia Pratt-Corbell, one of Liverpool's most famous sons tells us it's time for those who know the killer to give him up.
It's almost an unwritten rule. You don't snitch, you don't grass on your mates. I'm not naive, I know that. But this for me is too big. This is too important. This is too much of a sad story. This is too badly wrong with everything.
As the Conservatives choose our next Prime Minister, the people of the North West ask, can we put our trust in Truss? On the crest of a wave, why life's plain sailing for skipper Daniel.
And did you hear the thunder last night? Perhaps you got a storm as well. The potential for a few more this evening. The forecast is coming up.
Stay with us, that's all coming up tonight. But first, 4 men are being questioned about the murder of the 9-year-old girl who was shot in her own home in Liverpool. And there is a new appeal for help tonight from one of the city's most high-profile footballers.
Jamie Carragher says there is a real sense of fear after the murder of Olivia Pratt-Corbell, and that for the future of the city, people need to have the courage to snitch on their friends. He's also calling on the new Prime Minister to increase jail sentences for anyone who carries a knife or a gun.
Well, we start with the latest from our reporter Tim Scott at Merseyside Police HQ. Tim, tell us about the latest arrests.
Yes, Andy, 4 arrests in total over the weekend by officers investigating Olivia's murder. 2 men were arrested in Runcorn in the early hours of Sunday morning. One, a 34-year-old man from Liverpool, was arrested on suspicion of murder. The other, a 41-year-old man from Knowsley, was arrested on suspicion of assisting an offender. Then later yesterday, a 29-year-old man was arrested in Liverpool on suspicion of assisting an offender, as was the 4th man, a 34-year-old from Liverpool. He was stopped on the M42 motorway. All 4 men are now in police custody.
And Tim, Merseyside Police have also been talking about their efforts to combat serious organised crime in the city.
Yes, Lucy, we've had a briefing from 4 senior police officers today talking about those efforts to combat these crime groups. They describe criminals who operate in these groups as despicable, cowardly and toxic. And one officer even likened the way that the gangs groomed youngsters into crime to that of how sex offenders target their victims.
The grooming process that crime groups go through is the same process that a sex offender may use to groom a victim. If we take the sexual assault out of the exploitation, it's exactly the same. The exploitation process that these crime groups do is exactly the same. To befriend an individual, to befriend a family, so they think, we're your mate, we'll look after you. They're not your mate. Okay, they won't look after you. You're expendable. You're replaceable to them. They don't give 2 jots about those people.
So to recap, this weekend's activity means that a total of 6 arrests have now been made in the Olivia Pratt-Corbell murder inquiry, although no one has been charged, and Merseyside Police are still appealing to members of the public to come forward with any information they may have. Lucy, Andy.
OK, Tim Scott in Liverpool, thank you.
Well, the football presenter Jamie Carragher had a hugely successful career at Liverpool. He loves his city, but he says he fears for the future when people are scared in their own homes. He told me of his feelings when he heard what had happened to Olivia.
I mean, real shock, sadness, and then it turns to anger, I think. And, you know, when you are a parent, it does, I think, hit home a lot more. It feels a little to me like sort of how I felt or the country and the city felt after Rhys Jones. Just doesn't seem real, it doesn't seem fair, more importantly. And I think you're right, Lucy, when you talk about a real low, we know at times people can find themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time. But when you're in your own home and people now not feeling safe in their own home because of these people on the streets and what they're getting up to, enough is enough. Something has to be done.
Well, Jamie, I know you're a proud Scouser, but it's fair to say Liverpool's going through a tough time with this at the moment.
Yeah, it is. It's not nice what's happening in the city of late. And yeah, I mean, it's something that we should all, come together and try and find the perpetrators of this, because we don't want this going on in our city.
Can you understand why people are scared to speak out?
Yes and no. Once you get into that world, it's almost an unwritten rule. You don't snitch, you don't grass on your mates. I'm not naive, I know that. But this for me is too big. This is too important. This is too much of a sad story. This is too badly wrong with everything with our society right now. And this is not about, looking after friends or accomplices in situations like that. Put yourself, never mind Olivia's position, that girl had a whole life ahead of her. Young, innocent, beautiful young child. Think of a family and her friends and her parents especially. Can you imagine going through that and knowing that people knew who had done this to your kid? I mean, it just doesn't bear thinking about. And yeah, I'm not naive enough to know there isn't that unwritten rule in that world. But this is not a time for keeping your mouth shut. The family of Olivia, they need justice and they need to know, or get to the bottom of what happened here and need to know who was involved in this, as I said, to bring them to justice. I know it's not easy, and you would admire the courage of someone to actually, come out and name the people actually involved, but it has to happen. It really does. You have to be brave enough to, rat or grass on your friends. And we know snitches get stitches, but I think there's maybe ways to do it. If we don't get to the bottom of this, I fear actually what could happen.
Well, we have a new Prime Minister now. Do you think they can do anything to help?
Liz Truss just got in today. We need to be tougher on gun crime and knife crime in this country, because at this moment, it's absolutely devastating families up and down our country, and especially in my city right now. Years ago, you'd be watching films with things like this, people running around with guns and 2 guns on them at one time, running into someone's house. It just doesn't feel real when you hear the story about Olivia, and that's why it's such a shocking story, and that's why I think it's touched people so much.
Jamie, thank you.
Thanks, Lucy.
Jamie Carragher's demanding that tackling gun and knife crime should be high on the new Prime Minister's agenda. Add that to rising household bills and growing industrial unrest, and the inbox awaiting Liz Truss looks pretty full.
Well, Boris Johnson said whoever replaced him would immediately tackle the cost of living crisis. So what can people in our region expect from the new Prime Minister?
Let's get the latest from our political correspondent, Leisha McNally.
After 2 months of the race and the rows, it was a North West MP who ended it all with just a few words.
Liz Truss is elected as the leader of the Conservative and Unionist Party.
The Conservatives have their new leader, the country a new Prime Minister. Liz Truss had her speech ready, her lines now well rehearsed from her summer campaign.
I will deliver a bold plan to cut taxes and grow our economy.
For the North West MPs who supported her, a moment of celebration ahead of an undoubtedly difficult winter.
I met Liz during the summer when she was up in the northwest of England. I've been supporting her, Northern Comprehensive Girls. I'm worried, but if we're going to solve it, we're going to solve it through practical action and delivery, and I'm definitely sure we've got that.
I think she's got some really good ideas. She's proved herself, having been Foreign Secretary and dealing with issues in relation to Ukraine. She's a Prime Minister that will get things done. Looking forward to seeing that.
But only a tiny fraction of the North West put Liz Truss on this platform, and we all have to live with the decisions she'll make. So what needs to be done? We've come to Downing Street. No, not that one, this one. Downing Street in Preston, Lancashire, to find out what people living here need to see from their London counterpart. And one issue came up again and again.
All the rich are getting richer, all the old companies and that, they're seeing profits that they've never seen before, and then we're paying it all with nothing more to pay with.
And it's only going to get worse. Heating's gone up, bills are going up. By the time winter comes and we're using all the gas, it's going to be ridiculous.
Lisa Bell works full-time. She has 3 children and one request for the woman in the other 10 Downing Street.
Cap the gas and electric rise just to make sure that everybody can survive winter. I am worried, yeah. Every time I do the family shop, I can see the price rises on the shelves. I'm not getting as much for my money.
And that cost of living crisis means Liz Truss won't have a moment to rest. The challenges are piling up. John Sterling is a pensioner who lives with his partner. He says growing the economy is still too London-focused.
Spend more time out in the public and see what the public need, rather than spending money on like HS2, so people can get to London 20 minutes quicker. Now we're reliant on gas and electric from abroad and things like that. It's because we have never invested in an infrastructure. We have never built. We haven't invested in power stations. We now rely on foreign economy or foreign partners to supply us with our energy needs. It's wrong.
But investing needs money. Liz Truss has already made big spending promises to the north, among them Northern Powerhouse Rail. But how do you pay for them when you've already promised tax cuts? This Rishi Sunak supporter urges a steady approach.
Margaret Thatcher promised tax cuts, but they took 8 years to arrive after she took office. I think we have to deal with the crises that are in front of us right now. Be very straight and honest with the British people over what can be afforded now, what our priorities are now.
She may have been all smiles today, but it's an in-tray that few would envy. Expectations are riding high, but so are the stakes for us all.
And Leisha's at Westminster for us now. Leisha, for people in our region worried about the horrendous rise in their fuel bills, what is Liz Truss promising?
Well, she's promising to make a promise effectively, because Liz Truss is not Prime Minister yet, and she won't be until she's formally spoken to the Queen tomorrow. Until then, she can't sign off on any actions. But she has acknowledged that tackling the energy crisis is going to be her first major challenge. And the days where she said she was against further handouts, to use her words, are long behind her. She knows that more support will be needed, and we're expecting her to confirm her plan within the week. Until then, that plan remains a closely guarded secret. Although North West Conservatives I spoke to today did try to reassure me that she'll be picking from a number of fully researched and costed options. She won't just be starting from scratch.
Well, Leisha, I want to bring in two words here, levelling up, because they didn't feature much at all in the leadership campaign, did they?
No, at least we almost never heard the actual words.
Oh no, sorry about that. We will get the answer for you, I'm sure, in our late bulletin.
Yeah, OK. Let's find out what's happening on the ITV News at 6:30 with Mary.
Coming up, all the reaction as Liz Truss is confirmed as the new Conservative leader.
We will deliver, we will deliver, we will deliver. And
the hard work starts now for our next Prime Minister. We'll be taking a look at the major challenges facing Liz Truss when she arrives at Downing Street. The economy is heading towards its worst crisis in over a decade. Does she have a plan to help keep prices under control? The many energy bills are the major concern. We'll be taking a look at the options she could take to protect families from meteoric price hikes. So do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Some more headlines in the northwest tonight, and an Oldham Athletic footballer has been left seriously injured after being attacked in the club's car park. Hallam Hope was attacked after the club's defeat to Chesterfield on Saturday outside Boundary Park. The club say he required hospital treatment and will be sidelined for some weeks. The incident has been reported to the police.
And the NHS is starting to roll out its booster COVID vaccine for the autumn. People in care homes will get it first, followed by people over 75. It's known as the next generation jab, as it's designed to tackle different strains in one injection.
You're watching Granada Reports, and time for sport now. And as well as Chris being here, we also have one of the best boxers in the studio tonight in the world.
Absolutely fresh from winning a second world title at the weekend. Natasha Jonas from Liverpool is with us again. And just tell us, you've got the WBC Super Welterweight belt to add to the WBO one you already had. How special is this for you?
I can't even put it into words, because there's nothing to compare it to. I thought it wouldn't get any better than the Amir Khan, I honestly did. And then, you know, as I was walking out and you're walking down the corridor, they're getting louder, it's getting louder, and stand outside, they say my name and everyone screamed. I was like, that's what it's all about.
You talked about walking in and that noise getting louder and louder, and of course you knew a lot of people in that crowd. How much difference does it make?
I think I went through so many emotions even before. You're excited, you're happy, but then you're also a bit anxious and you're a bit nervous because there is more people. Like, I was a late addition to the Amir Khan card, so not many of my family friends could manage to get tickets because obviously it was a big event. The other two previous world title challenges, it was behind closed doors, so no one could come. So on Saturday, everyone who wanted a ticket came, and it was just...
Saturday was a special day for your sporting family, wasn't it, really? Because your sister, Nikita Paris, playing for England, scored a goal, helped them beat Austria and into the World Cup. What was that like?
Because we'd had the derby before, that was a bit stressful. And then my little nephew, Lee Jonas, was playing in the under 21s, and they drew 2-2. So then I was thinking, oh, it's going to be one of them days, and I needed a bit of uplifting. I watched the match, and there she goes. She gets on. I'm like, good, this is good. And then she goes and scores, and I was like, right, that's it. She's not having all the headlines. I'm going to go out and I'm going to do it.
Great goal, though, and she's got the same smile, hasn't she? But you're a Liverpool fan, obviously, and she's playing for Manchester United. Is that an issue?
I mean, she's played for Everton, she's played for Man City, she played for Lyon, and then she played for United. She loves to test my loyalties, but, you know, family comes first and you have to support your own, like we do. So, yeah, but it's one shirt that the baby won't be getting.
Brilliant.
Natasha, we've talked about women's football being on the rise. Women's boxing is on the rise. We've got an all-female card coming up at the O2 as well. How important is it now to seize this initiative and sort of make the sport grow even faster now?
I think visibility is key for anything. And, you know, when we went to the 2012 Olympics, young girls and boys was looking, saying, we can do that now. That's a sport we want to do, and they had the representation there to follow. And I think, you know, it happened with football, happened with netball, happened with cricket, it happened with rugby. And once you get that like golden moment and that opportunity, you have to keep it rolling. And we are at that point, that pivotal point, where the ideology behind it is changing. The people's attitudes towards it are changing, and we always knew how good women's boxing was. We just needed the world to see it and the platform to put it on, and we've got that now, so we need to keep the ball rolling and heading off in the right direction.
Well, you're doing a fantastic
well
job,
said.
isn't she? Absolutely brilliant.
OK, well, now it's time to say ahoy and congratulations to the crew of the SS Daniel Adamson in Cheshire. A small but rather powerful tugboat with a remarkable history.
Yes, they're riding on the crest of a wave and celebrating because the skipper of the Frodsham-based steam tug has received official recognition for restoring the boat, which now hosts cruises and events on the River Weaver. Paul Crone was invited on board to find out more.
The SS Daniel Adamson has every right to toot its own horn. Built way back in 1903 in Birkenhead, the steam tug tender was saved from being sent for scrap in the 1980s. A heritage lottery grant and decades of dedication and hard work means it still proudly sails on the River Weaver, near its mooring at Sutton Weaver Swing Bridge near Frodsham. The two coal-fired steam boilers and twin propellers make the boat a sight to behold on the water.
It's always a challenge. Where we are now on the River Weaver, obviously it's quite tight in places, and we're quite close to the bottom in places, and the trees are coming at you. So it's always a bit of a challenge, but it's a nice challenge to have.
Now its skipper is to receive the Merchant Navy Medal for services to the preservation of maritime history. And whilst Dan is delighted, he knows the importance of keeping the past alive.
We're pretty poor in the UK at looking after our maritime history. There's been several old vessels scrapped in the last 20 years, and there's probably quite a few, I think, around the country that are teetering on the edge. They're really on the brink of being scrapped.
During its time, those who've travelled on board the boat include, wait for it, the Sultan of Zanzibar, yep, King Fahd of Egypt, and also when he was playing a test match at Old Trafford in Manchester, the one and only cricketing legend, Don Bradman. From grafting on waterways throughout the region, the Danny, formerly known as the Ralph Brocklebank, has never been shy doing a spot of hard work over the years. Now she's in shipshape and Bristol fashion, including these Art Deco saloons, perfect for river cruises and parties.
She's a one of a kind now in the UK, so without doubt that makes her very rare. On the National Register of Historic Vessels, she sits in the top tier. That puts her alongside vessels like the Cuzzy Sark and the Mary Rose, if you like, because of that being that uniqueness.
And the next chance to go on board the Danny is an open day this Sunday. Paul Croner, ITV News, Sutton Weaver.
A lovely moment of calm.
Yes, absolutely. Looked good, didn't it? OK, now for the weather. Here's Joe.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Thank you. Very good evening to you. Some lovely warm sunshine around today, but the humidity, of course, has generated quite a few heavy thundery downpours over the last 24 hours. And tonight, more to come. This evening, 1 or 2 heavy showers, and tomorrow again interspersed with warm spells of sunshine. The humidity with us for the next day or two before gradually things ease down temperature-wise into the weekend. But low pressure will dominate through the rest of the week, and it's pushing bands of showers across the country, interspersed with sunny spells over the next few days. Back to this evening, quite a few heavy and potentially thundery downpours will be moving up from the Midlands for a time, merging together to form longer spells of rain. The wind is increasing, exposed western headlands, and of course the Isle of Man will have a windy night tonight as it picks up. But for the rest of us, gradually showers peter out, things settle down, and it's another muggy night tonight, 15 or 16 degrees, with a bit of mistiness and hill fog developing before dawn. On to tomorrow. The sun is up at 6:28. It sets at 10 to 8 tomorrow evening. Tomorrow, perhaps where you are, a misty start to the day. Any residual showers from overnight tonight will tend to reactivate through the morning as the heat of the day tends to increase. Tomorrow afternoon, a mixture of sunny spells, scattered and at times heavy showers, but lots of drier interludes as well. Just watch out for perhaps a rumble or two of thunder here and there. And despite the breeze, it's going to feel warm again, 22, maybe 23 Celsius. Looking ahead to the rest of the week, winds begin to ease down, but with low pressure still very much in charge. Expect showers on Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, but some sunshine around as well. Enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Yeah, some more much-needed rain on the way. Thanks for that, Joe. Tomorrow, some good news. Wythenshawe Hall in Manchester is opening to the public again. So we're going to look at the labour of love to restore the breathtakingly beautiful Tudor mansion after it was almost destroyed in a fire 6 years ago.
Yeah, we do like good news on this programme. We're also meeting the two boxers, talking about their relationship and ending up on the same bill.
So lots of reasons to join us tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. Until then, have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.